this is Shukanta and you are watching my channel History Online. I am here with ICSE Class 10 History chapter number 4 second part. In the second part, I will discuss about the assertive nationalists, their beliefs, their method, their achievement, and finally about some assertive nationalists. I have already discussed about the early nationalists within National Congress in part 1, and this is part 2 where you will get information about the assertive nationalism or assertive nationalist, about some assertive nationalist leaders. So watch the full video to know more about the assertive nationalism. Years of 19th century and the early years of 20th century witnessed the emergence of new young group within Indian National Congress, which was critical towards the ideologies and methods adopted by the early nationalists. This group is known as the assertive nationalists or the assertive leaders. They dominated the Indian National Congress from 1907 or after the Surat split to up to 1916 or up to the Lucknow session where the two wings of National Congress united again. In this video or in this part, I'm going to explain about the beliefs of the assertive nationalists, the causes of the rise of assertive nationalism, methods adopted by the assertive nationalists, and finally about some of the assertive nationalists or assertive leaders like Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Lala Lajpat Rai, and Bipin Chandra Pal, popularly known as Lal Bal Pal. The first topic is the beliefs of the assertive nationalists. Beliefs, objectives, and methods of achieving those objectives were completely different from the early nationalists or the moderates. They believed in self-reliant and independent methods of struggle against the British rule. They had no faith in the constitutional means of the earlier generation of nationalists, and they advocated of the adoption of Swaraj as the goal of the Indian National Congress. Recognition of the true nature of British rule, the failure of the moderates or early nationalist leaders, growth of education and unemployment, worsening economic condition, and the oppressive policies mainly introduced by Lord Curzon. All these factors led to the rise of assertive nationalists. Now coming to the objectives of assertive nationalists. The objectives of assertive nationalists were firstly immediate attainment of Swaraj, which means self-government. Secondly, to get a larger share for Indians in the administration of their country. And thirdly, to end British economic exploitation. So these were some main objectives of the assertive nationalists. The methods adopted by the assertive nationalists were different from those of the early nationalists or moderates. Where early nationalists or moderates, they adopted the constitutional means of agitation and they made use of 3 Ps, prayer, petition and protest, where the assertive nationalists, they actually adopted main 4 methods: Swadeshi, boycott, national education and passive resistance. Now I will discuss about all these methods adopted by the assertive nationalists.
In achieving the objectives of assertive nationalists, they followed mainly 4 methods: Swadeshi, boycott, national education and passive resistance. So first one was Swadeshi. Swadeshi meant producing necessary items in one's own country and using them without being dependent on imported British goods. This was the weapon that aimed at making India produce everything that was required for its economic security. The Swadeshi idea was popularized by occasional bonfires of foreign clothes, salt and sugar. The next method followed by the assertive nationalist or radical nationalist was boycott. Swadeshi and boycott are two sides of the same coin. Boycott proved to be a powerful weapon against economic exploitation by the foreigners, or mainly Britishers. For the assertive nationalists, boycott of British goods and use of Swadeshi goods was designed to encourage the Indian industries and to provide people with more opportunities for employment. Boycott was not merely of foreign goods but also government services, honors, and titles. Anyone found buying or selling foreign goods was subjected to social boycott. Prominent assertive nationalist leader Bal Gangadhar Tilak said, "When you accept Swadeshi, you must boycott foreign goods." Now the third method was national education. The British government tried to prevent the participation of students in the national movement. Therefore, with Indian initiative and Indian capital, a large number of national schools and colleges were created for imparting education among these students and to protect them from government repression. The Bengal National College was set up at Kolkata, and the DAV movement or Dayananda Anglo-Vedic movement, they also set up many national schools and colleges in Punjab. So one of the main features of Swadeshi movement after the partition of India was the participation of the students. So British government tried to prevent the participation of the students, and large number of students were expelled from various schools and colleges mainly for participating in Swadeshi movements against the British. To provide education, the students, those who were expelled by the British control school and colleges, a national scheme of education was planned out which was to replace government controlled universities and colleges. And the last one is passive resistance. The assertive nationalists evolved more active forms of political struggle which were non-violent, so it was called passive resistance. They gave a call for passive resistance, which meant refusal to cooperate with the government and to boycott government service, courts, schools, and colleges. They advocated courage, self-confidence, and spirit of sacrifice to achieve their goal of Swaraj. So these were some main methods adopted by the assertive nationalists. Beside all these four methods, they followed another three methods like revivalism, then personal sacrifice, and mass involvement. The assertive nationalists, they actually realized the importance of the mass, or they realized the importance of the general people in the nationalist movement. So they appealed to the people from various sections of the society to participate in the national movement to make the movement more powerful.
These are the main four methods adopted by the assertive nationalists. Besides these four methods, they also followed the three methods like personal sacrifice, revivalism, and mass involvement. After methods, now we'll discuss about some assertive nationalist leaders.
Bal Gangadhar Tilak of Maharashtra is known as the father of assertive nationalism. The Deccan Education Society was founded by him under Justice Ranade's guidance. In 1884, Gokhale and Tilak were its member. The society set up many educational institutions, including the famous Fergusson College at Pune. Tilak was the first to openly declare the demand for Swaraj. Swaraj is my birthright, he said. I shall have it. Tilak was convinced that political rights could be achieved by aggressively demanding them. To encourage self-defense and patriotism, he organized many akharas and lathi clubs where physical training was imparted. In 1893, Tilak started using the traditional religious Ganapati festival to propagate nationalist ideas through songs and speeches. In 1895, he glorified Shivaji and started the Shivaji festival to encourage young Maharashtrians. He started two newspapers, Maratha in English and Kesari in Marathi language, which soon became the mouthpieces of his ideas. Through these newspapers, he preached nationalism and taught the people to be courageous and self-reliant. He wrote two well-known books, the Gita Rahasya and the Arctic Home of the Vedas. So all these books written by him and the newspapers mainly to preach his ideology, his ideas of assertive nationalism. And all these books and newspapers are very important for your exam also. Then Tilak set up a Home Rule League at Pune in 1916 to attain self-government within the British Empire by the constitutional means. Tilak was the forerunner of Mahatma Gandhi in a number of ways. Like, Tilak's idea of Swaraj was akin to Mahatma Gandhi's idea of complete independence. Secondly, Tilak sought close contact with the masses as Mahatma Gandhi ji did. Thirdly, Tilak preached the idea of Swadeshi boycott and prohibition. These ideas were preached and followed by Mahatma Gandhi later on. Tilak's selfless patriotism, strong determination and courage aroused the masses against the British and opened a new chapter in the history of India's freedom struggle. Born in Sylhet, now a part of Bangladesh, in the year 1858, Bipin Chandra is known as the father of revolutionary thought in India. He started his political career as a social reformer attached to the Brahmo Samaj, founded by Raja Ram Mohan Roy. In 1886, he joined the Indian National Congress. As a journalist, he worked for Bengali Public Opinion, the Tribune, and New India to propagate his brand of nationalism. Bipin Chandra wanted national education to be the basis of the freedom movement. Bipin Chandra Pal wanted to remove social and economic evils from the society. For this, he opposed the caste system. He advocated widow remarriage. Educating women, he believed, was the most effective way to elevating their position. He stressed the need to develop indigenous industries in the country. He preached the use of Swadeshi and boycott of foreign goods to eradicate poverty and unemployment in India. To establish equality in society, he wanted to tax the rich more heavily than the poor. He demanded 48 hours of work in a week and an increase in the wages. Bipin Chandra Pal died in 1932. Lala Rajpat Rai was popularly known as Punjab Kesari or Sher-e-Punjab. He was an eminent lawyer, prolific writer, enlightened educator, social reformer, and a trans fighter against the British rule. He joined the National Congress in 1888 and remained its worker till the end of his life. He joined the Assertive Nationalists in 1907. Lalaji supported workers' movement and in 1920 became the first president of the All India Trade Union Congress. In 1920, he was elected president of the Indian National Congress. He became a member of Servants of India Society. Lala Lajpat Rai was a prolific writer. When he was in the USA, he started a monthly magazine, Young India. He to spread the message of the rights of India to attain Swaraj. His publications included The Call to Young India, England's Debt to India, and The Political Future of India. Lajpat Rai founded Punjabi Vande Mataram, and People. He also wrote a book on national education that called for reform of prevalent educational system. Lajpat Rai was associated with the Arya Samaj movement. He was instrumental in the expansion of DAV College at Lahore in 1886. He opened orphanages, hospitals, schools. He set up Servants of the People's Society for the welfare of the downtrodden and outcasts. He went abroad to mobilize opinion in favor of India's struggle for freedom. When he went to America in 1914, he joined the Ghadar party there. In 1928, while leading to a procession at Lahore against the Simon Commission, he was injured in a lathi charge. He succumbed to his injuries a month later on November 17, 1928. On the day he was wounded, he said, "Lathi blows inflicted on me would prove someday as nails in the coffin of the British Empire." His prophecy was fulfilled on 15th August 1947.
This was the second part of chapter number 4, history. If you like this video, please press like button, share with your friends, and please subscribe my channel.